What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at the two Champions League finalists and their match in the English Premier League, the match between Manchester City and Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel takes on Pep Guardiola in a preview to what the Champions League will look like in the final in the coming week. Before we start, my book is out. Check out the link in the description below. If you like tactical content, it would be a great book for you. And check out Keyframe, the link is also in the description below. That's how I made this video, and let's get right into it. So Manchester City went with a different lineup than normal to rotate players, give some guys some rest, but with Ruben Diaz, Laporte, and Nathaniel Ake playing in the back three, they would occupy the first line of build-up. And the big difference was with Ake's positioning. He would oftentimes vary his positioning from the half space to the wide area depending on the situation and what it would be. So by playing in a wider area, he would create more space and a larger passing distance between the back three, which would then try and stretch Chelsea horizontally and allow for progression via horizontal progression, or whether that just be taking advantage of the space left by this greater distance. In the midfield, went with a diamond midfield shape or a three-man midfield depending on the situation. If it was Aguero and Gabriel Jesus pinning the three central defenders, then Manchester City would look to create numerical superiority through the midfield around the double pivot of Chelsea. So with Chelsea's 5-2-3, there would be opportunity for Manchester City to create a 3 versus 2 in the midfield and the central corridors. If Rudiger was to jump, then they would have a 2 versus 2 in the last line. So it was a mix between positional superiority, numerical superiority, and or finding the players in advanced areas to then create 1v1 situations with space in behind. So now we look at Manchester City's build-up and how they move to more of a diamond shape with Gabriel Jesus occupying the 10 position around the Chelsea midfield. And this was often the case when Rudiger would jump, which would eliminate the Manchester City numerical superiority in the midfield. When Rudiger would jump, then City would no longer have the free man in the midfield area, which would then elicit a response from Jesus to join in as the 10 position and have Aguero pin the last two central defenders. So from here, we can look at the Chelsea setup with the double pivot and then their front three that would press the City initial line of build-up. And the last picture of City in possession now we have against the mid-block, again from Chelsea in their 5-2-3, and we can even map out the defense of Chelsea as well. So now looking at Chelsea's 5-2-3, we can outline the City midfield diamond and how they look to pin the Chelsea defense and exploit their numerical superiority in through their midfield and the central three corridors. So Ferran Torres played more as an attacking midfielder through the right half space, which is a little bit different role for him. But from here, we then have Aguero, who would look to come inside to then pin two of the three central defenders of Chelsea, giving them a 4 versus 3 if Rudiger or one of the other central defenders of Chelsea were to jump, or to give them a 3 versus 2 or 4 versus 2 depending on the situation. And then in the wide area, we have Benjamin Mendy holding the width and Nathaniel Ake entering to then create double width, as well as Cancelo as the single width player on this weak side and creating asymmetry within the Manchester City team. Looking at Chelsea in possession now in the first third of the field, they've built with asymmetry among their three central defenders, overloading the right side with Christensen and Azpilicueta. The double pivot of Gilmour and Conte would position themselves between the press of Manchester City, trying to exploit the space left in their high block and create a controlled build-up into the advanced areas where the space is around Rodri, who is the single pivot, but with the three central defenders of Manchester City, the center backs in the wide areas will then be able to jump to the advanced midfielders of Chelsea. Then when Chelsea would move into the midfield third, we would see the three central defenders take up the three central corridors most of the time, with Rudiger rarely going into the wide area to progress via dribbling around Chelsea's block, set up in a little bit of a new formation here in a 5-3-2 with Ferran Torres oftentimes dropping deeper as a third midfielder, but sometimes jumping to then press the first line of Chelsea's build-up. But with the 5 defenders, this gave them better access between the lines with more mobility from their central defenders and their ability to then go and jump to press players. But with Mendy on the field and Reece James, there is a little bit of asymmetry within the team, and the wingbacks were very much oriented towards each other on both sides of the field. From each perspective, Conte and Gilmore played in the midfield, with then Pulisic coming in with Werner and Ziyech as the midfield 5, and the fluidity between these 5 players was quite apparent, and Conte would often jump into advanced position to overload the half space and initiate more rotation into advanced areas and take advantage of pinning of higher players of Chelsea. So that's the analysis, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.